So, I'm Dr. Taehyun Kim. As you know, this year marks 25th year after the riot. 25 years ago, it's like my biography and why I'm here today. I was an undergraduate student at Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, and I watched the riot unfolding on television. Like most people at the time, I was very stunned by a miscarriage of the justice in Rodney King verdict. But what was most shocking and absurd was the news from the Korean town that there were hundreds of rioters are burning down Korean stores and stealing everything inside the stores. But there were no police officers or firefighters to stop further damages. I couldn't understand at that time, I was 20 years old, why black rioters were angry at Korean businesses when the racism and police brutality was created by the white people. The televisions and newspapers keep repeating the image over and over. The stories of Korean business owners usually crying without speaking any English words, surrounded by a large group of angry black protesters. I felt hurt and angry. I mean, when did those Korean people actually what did those people actually do to get this kind of treatment in this country? They didn't deserve this kind of suffering. Honestly, what's wrong with black people? Do they really think what they are doing to this city is a solution to the problem? What about those Hispanics who suddenly show up and looting the stores? Nothing makes sense to me at 25 years ago. And I was a 21-year-old international student. Until I arrived at CSUN 2008, my perspective toward LA riots hasn't changed much. It's going to be 15 pages at the moment. No, just kidding. As someone who never lived in Los Angeles before, I became curious about LA riots history. I'm in LA. After all, it's the most destructive urban riots in U.S. history that took place less than 30 minutes away from CSUN campus. Also, I feel like this is some kind of a calling. Why am I here, of all places? And 25 years ago, even my wildest imagination, I never thought I would be living in Los Angeles with my family, teaching journalism to next generations. But here I am, I'm at CSUN, and I'm the only Korean journalism faculty in Southern California. So this is kind of a work I have to do. I knew when I left Louisiana in 2008, there must be some special reason for it. The first semester, I met Professor Boris Ricks from Political Science Department. He's the first person who told me about Sun Ja-doo versus Latasha Hollins case in detail. The first time he told me the Korean shopkeeper who shot and killed unarmed black girl got only a probation, I froze for a second, and it was a B2 parking lot where you park thing. It kind of changed my whole perspective. Koreans actually did do something horrific and heartbreaking to the black communities. And there was simmering black Korean racial tension coming from the experience where black customers were mistreated by Koreans, Koreans following black customers around and watching over the counter, not touching their hands or making eye contact when they do transactions. As a Korean, I feel ashamed and feel apologetic toward black. We basically added an insult to the injury. As a survivalist immigrant entrepreneurs, Koreans simply didn't care too much about where and how they got civil rights and voting rights and so on. They didn't feel it is to their advantage if they engage with black community leaders and listen to the problems in the community where they own businesses, such as rising unemployment issues, decline in quality of education, drugs, and gang violence. But this doesn't quite explain everything later on. Think about it. Before Koreans came to South Central, there was a Jewish merchant selling liquors to blacks. After Korean leaves, there will be another immigrant entrepreneur selling liquors to blacks. In a way, it's not a matter of which race, but it's a matter of the exploitative economic structure. Right? South LA has more liquor licenses than state of Rhode Island. And there are sometimes more than 5 liquor stores in just one block. The toxic combination of alcohol, crime, and ignorance. Last page. And cultural ignorance showing all binaries of color down to pressure cooker, which is South Central. Journalists often say, don't kill the messenger because they are just a simply purveyor of bad news. But in all due respect, the media is always our easiest target to blame instead of examining the root causes of social issues. But it is hard to deny the media failed to cover the South Central 25 years ago fairly or sufficiently. Failed to cover underlying causes of so-called Black Korean tension, failed to portray Latino communities' common struggles, and failed to cover institutional racism 25 years ago. So now I will ask the panelists who were actually now and then the journalists on trenches actually remember how riot was reported. This kind of our ultimate question is, can we rise together like CSUN rise? The president should hear this. Can we rise above this zero-sum game? Can we rise above and beyond this? When Black, Latino, Asian, and all immigrants rise collectively, can we have more voice, more power, and more justice? That's a really heavy question, right? So Natalie will now introduce the panelists.